Member Harry, how are you?
I'm doing good, neighbor.
Just before you do so, neighbor, YouTubers, could you please give us the thumbs up over there and subscribe? Thank you.
Member, I had to jump on today. I couldn't hold it when I saw this Gleaner saying that Golden bets on democratic socialism and Golden is embracing Manley's 1970 philosophy and is vowing to build on the former prime minister's legacy. What is the legacy there to be built on, member?
Neighbor, that legacy is a farce, and it has been something the People's National Party feels strongly and proudly about. But I put it down to a strong misconception as to how countries and governments are run.
Yes.
Yeah. How you achieve the outcome for the people.
Yes.
While maintaining the dignity of the country on the international stage. Right? I don't think the People's National Party have ever grasped what that means. For one, what it will take to achieve that, and also what are the sacrifices willing to be made, especially in a geopolitical time like now. They don't have the nuance and the understanding as to how to handle that, neighbor. And as such, if we listen to how they speak about the manly times, they never speak about the economical part.
The economy itself that really collapsed.
Yeah. And what I believe why they run from it, neighbor, is that they don't understand the economics. Because the truth about it is no country survives without a properly run economy.
Uh-huh.
And it has to be an economy that produces and provides equity.
Yes.
To all those that are there. And that for them, equity for them means taking away from the average man. And I say the average man, here's why. Their version of socialism, or in this case, the democratic socialism, never ever contained or include those who wielded the power politically. If you listen to the rhetorics and their statements, it never ever brings down those who rule to the level of the average man. So, for example, when they mention about, the whole aspect of you having two cars and you have to give one, it never falls at the feet of the political representatives, of those who are ruling, of those in government. It is always those that are below them. And that does not produce equity. In fact, to have democratic socialism, neighbor, you need one of the best economy in the world to sustain it.
And it has to be producing and growing constantly.
It has to.
Yes,
it has to.
Because you are redistributing the wealth that the economy is producing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And what it does, right? You can't build it around we take away from those who have more. What you do when you do that, neighbor, you don't make the man them whosoever want to do anything else. Because if I'm putting in the work and all of that, as the government who want to back this democratic socialism, have to find an independent way of those who are actually producing to bring up those who aren't. At no point in time, the People's National Party ever stated how they would do that. Because just redistributing of wealth doesn't mean the welfare of people increases. And we know how Jamaicans are, neighbor. You take away a man carry and get another one and him go sell that. Where is the production in it? Where is the advance, improvement, and continuity of productivity? It never guarantees it.
Now, let me ask you this, Harry, before you move on. Is this not why? Is this not what Andrew Holness has been trying to do since he became Prime Minister? With the setback of Melissa, that Holness has been trying to grow the economy so he can improve the lives of poor people. Isn't that the best model?
It is, neighbor. Because Scratchy always say, neighbor, it takes cash to care. In any economy in any country, you have to have the economical backing to support anything that you're doing, any projects, any program, any policies. It has to be backed by money, whether that is specific resources or the physical cash itself. And one of the things, let me show you how this whole democratic socialism is a farce. In this modern day, you cannot remove foreign investment from a country. And I'll paint a bigger picture to show you, neighbor.
Yes.
Yeah. The countries in the Middle East, the Abu Dhabi, the Dubais, and those, if you take those away from the US, they crumble.
They are linked to the United States.
Those countries that I just named have pumped more money in the US stock market that holds up the US. You see these companies, the Fortune 500 and so on? There are 10 companies, the Apples, the Googles, and so on, that holds the US economy together. And the majority of the funding come from those specific countries.
Thank you for that.
The relationship to it is because they have a water deficit where they have to do desalinization in the east and so on. And as such, they route the money to the US, make it in the stock market, and pump it back so they can run their economy. So there's a tight relationship there. But if you remove them, the bread and butter of the US economy dies. And those who understand world politics and economics knows that. So that is how direct foreign investment is a co-dependent factor in the world currently, right? As beautiful as Dubai is, they're currently opening up their borders, neighbor, for people to invest into real estate and other entities. Remember, they have oil. They won't need to do it. But they understand what it means to have foreign investment. And socialism, democratic socialism, was targeted and aimed at removing and reducing foreign investments. Now understand this, neighbor. Roll it back to when we gained independence, right? And under Manley. We needed foreign investments. As a free country, quote unquote, we didn't have the technocrats. We didn't have the manpower to do everything. We needed the wealth that was there from colonial rulers.
Yes.
And that's the reality of the day. But when you come up now and go up against those people to remove their influence, to take down what they've built, right, in an aggressive manner, because let's be for real, democratic socialism came through in an aggressive manner. One of the worst we've seen in our history. And what you do now is you run away those who have the money, and you definitely need this money. You don't have the educational level. You don't have the expertise to do this, right? Despite being free. And this is one of the things where we didn't understand how to rule ourselves, and Manley and the PNP still don't know how to. It is a very fickle and delicate time when they did this. And this is why we were hurt so much. When you look at a Caribbean region, we knew we had tourism. Almost every single country in the Caribbean came off from the tourism aspect because of how colonial setups were. We benefited from that. And we saw that declined significantly. Now, where were they planning to get that money to fund this ideology? It couldn't be from bauxite, because that's a limited resource. And if you want to do it from bauxite or minerals, you would still have to do what, neighbor? Outsource the technocrats. Because Jamaica, for itself as a state, did not have holistically the alumina smelter. They didn't have the best in terms of proper energy sources, right? We need to understand that these things you need outsiders. And when you try to put in place to remove those influences, what you do is you start to to erode yourself from within. Right? It is almost, you hear them, so when you eat bubblegum or sweets on an empty stomach, neighbor, the stomach eats itself because it's preparing for food and it's not there. So it eats away on the walls. That is what democratic socialism was actually doing to Jamaica. And the People's National Party was so beautiful in coining it to those who are ignorant, because we weren't an educated society then. Right? Maybe we've advanced a little now, but the emotional literacy is still pretty much low. Right?
Yes.
So imagine how many people ran with that idea that, yeah man, this sound good. But the reality of the day is they couldn't tell them how they would fund it then. And Mark Golding and the PNP can't tell us how they'll fund it. No. So how are you going to embrace something that you don't know how?
Wow.
You have to find a way how to back it. And if you can't tell us how you're backing it, then you have to go away with that idea. Because everything in government, neighbor, when you're putting something into place, you have to do the studies for it. Right? You then have to go ahead and ensure that it is measurable, that it is achievable, and you have a time frame to do so. And then more importantly, what are the steps for execution? And if your steps for execution does not work, what is the plan B? And we know Mark Golding and this People's National Party don't know how to do that. Their manifesto in 2025 shows us, and that is a small thing compared to what democratic socialism is from their end, and how crippling it can be for Jamaica.
Harry, this seemed like Mr. Golding trying to become relevant, to steer something, to become some popular leader. Is this Mr. Golding's insecurity of his own position as a leader? Why is he coming up with this idea now? Because I thought that democratic socialism in Jamaica, it would be something that we would be afraid to talk about based on the experience of the past.
Well, this is the thing in a neighbor. Not many actually are I don't want to put it say, not many who are able to speak on the full experience of what democratic socialism has done to us. Right? That is I don't want to say a dying breed of people. They're on the outgoing. And as such, not many are as vocal or willing to impart that experience through knowledge publicly. So we have a deficit there.
In other words, today's generation don't know what it's about.
Right.
Hold on a minute for me. Hold on a minute for me, Harry. Let me play something that somebody said.
Are you tithing even? You know? I mean, for those people who want to have socialism, and it's the be all and the end all, and that's the utopian view. How about you start it in your own home? Just you have a front door, just let everybody come in. Since you think that this is the best thing to do, start with you. You have everybody come in and you feed everybody and you do all of that. And before you force it on everybody else. Are you tithing even? I mean, the 10% that God wants from me, are you even doing that? Maybe if you do that, then we can talk.
They're happy to be generous with other people's money.
But the problem is, as Thatcher said, sooner or later you run out of it. And that's what some of these countries that had, some of these European countries that had more of a socialistic tendency, they have changed.
Yeah,
they have changed. And even so, some of them per capita, even though they had socialist policies, they had more billionaires than we have in America. So
okay, there you have it. So I'm wondering, here we are on this Saturday talking about Golding and his idea. Is Golding not flying a kite or setting a trap here, Harry? Is Golding seeking relevance? Is this going anywhere?
Neighbor, it is more than just seeking relevance, because he's losing so much traction, right? And when you look at it, it is an attempt to still rev up the base of the People's National Party. Because let's look at it for a quick minute. right? The whole built out of it, when Dayton Campbell came and said this is a reincarnation of Manley, that wasn't a prop Mark Golding, you know. It was an indirect representation to say, listen, we can bring back manly tendencies.
Yes.
That was what revved up the base.
Oh.
So Mark Golding himself never really see the bigger picture. He was a pawn in that move. Right? Because him.
So it had nothing to do with Golding.
No, right? Because nobody cares that Dayton said it about Mark. What they did was the fact that we have somebody who probably can carry out what Manley did, and some things that he probably didn't finish. Because remember,
but what is it that he didn't finish? What is it that he did not finish? Golding is talking about finishing the Manley's legacy. What did Manley really start that we need to finish?
Neighbor, for them, it is this hidden idea of equity for the quote-unquote poor man, right? Because if you look at when they always speak about it, it's always the poor man they matter about, you know?
Uh-huh.
So, when you look at it, how much poor people in Jamaica? What does the poverty rate says no? How is it applicable to no?
Well, Damian Crawford says 700,000 living below the poverty line. Where those figures come from?
Until Statin can give me those numbers, neighbor, that's one. And until Damian Crawford can bring the draft for almost a year ago, I don't think anything he says is of any relevance.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because he can't stay true to his word. And if I can't believe what you state, then if you come with something else and didn't stand on your word with evidence previously, then I would say you aren't somebody who we can trust.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, Damian tends to have verbal diarrhea a lot of times, neighbor.
Let me ask you something, member. Hold on. The recent pressure on the global economy, the global oil shocks we are experiencing, the rise in oil prices, the war in Iran, in Ukraine, there is a strain on the world economy, and no doubt it is affecting Jamaica. To what extent do you think that the people of Jamaica blames the government, and is the opposition, you think, exploiting a definite strain on people's dollar? Why they are at this time calculating that if you tell the people that somehow the government can step in and do more for them, that will provide them with a political forward?
It is, neighbor. So what the People's National Party is doing is playing on the ignorance of Jamaicans again. You'd always hear me say, neighbor, Jamaicans cannot speak economics because they don't know it.
Uh-huh.
And this is an economic factor. We played the other night where Julian Robinson talking about we in a recession.
Right.
And that was the bet. A lot of people run with that because one, they don't know what a recession is. Two, they don't know how it comes about. And three, they aren't capable as yet.
But sorry, what is the message in the society though? Is it that Jamaicans are largely of the view that we are in a recession, or are they have starting corrected? Do you think sufficient has been done to correct Robinson's malaise?
I don't think enough has been done to curve it, neighbor, because what happens, it rides on emotiveness, on the emotions, and Jamaicans are a very emotional set of people, so that's going to hit home very quickly.
Yes,
right? It's going to run through society very easily because the least inconvenience one have, what I've seen and in terms of going through social media and so on, is everything is the government, but it is the idea that is being put out by the opposition that if they were there, this wouldn't happen. So a lot of these people who run with that idea is, are we saying if PNP was in power, there wouldn't be an Iran-Israel issue? There wouldn't be a Ukraine and Russia issue? There wouldn't be a Europe drought and climate issue? There wouldn't be having a US president who's bringing back an ideology from the 1880s? Is it that PNP so good they can change the world? Because that is what they sell the people in a neighbor.
Uh-huh.
And let me give people the reality. They could not do it. And here's why. And I'll show how the government have taken steps to try and help people, especially with this oil situation.
Tell us, please.
Petrojam neighbor.
Yes.
For over 2 to 3 weeks was taking the heat for Jamaica and Jamaicans, the average.
But them don't know, Harry. People don't know. Earlier I spoke about the bus fare subsidy.
Exactly. Right? Now, when you have an entity like that is taking a $1.3 billion hit a day.
Oh my God.
To ensure that you can still go to the pumps. Remember, this is not something the government have control over. We can't tell Iran and US and Israel what to do.
To stop fight,
Right? And when you look, we have to find ways how to do it. No, we got hit by Melissa. 56% of GDP is missing. We can't produce enough to even substantially offset it. So what they do? They did two things. Petrojam took as much blow as they could for us.
Yes.
And it's very commendable. I respect them for that. Right? Then BOJ went ahead and strategically pulled money from the market when needed to be to keep inflation, since Melissa, between their target range of 4 to 6%, which is livable. Because there's no country that can run without inflation. There's something called healthy inflation, neighbor.
Yes.
And we've been able to keep it in and around that range for a very long time in terms of the last decade.
Yes.
And it was that easy feat because the BOJ came under serious pressure, especially from the opposition. Every time they're going to do something, them say it can't be done. And God thank you for Mr. Biles. He did an exceptional job and his team. And that work will continue. Right? It is the first time since Melissa as well that a small portion has gone over their targeted range. And their targeted range keeps Jamaica in a very confident spot. And I'll show the people how. Normally, when a country gets hit by whether it be crime of this magnitude or a natural disaster which have taken away their productivity and so on, their ratings fall. It's almost like a snowball effect, right? But instead, Jamaica held firm. And people will say, well, we're not advanced. Okay. Holding firm after losing more than half of your GDP is something to be not worried about, but to be praised that institutions and the government were able to do so. If US lose 56% of their GDP, neighbor, a problem.
A problem in the world.
Right? And people need to understand these things. And this is why, we said the education aspect of Jamaica. I think the new Jamaica needs to have these conversations from the home. Understand how the economics work, because you can know how the country works, neighbor, just by utilizing strategies in the home. And the clip you played speaks volumes. Understand this, neighbor. If you teach your kids how money work, right? They get a little thing to put in their savings. They do chores. Some paid, some not. They get to understand a few things. One, what it feels like to earn money. Two, how to use it in terms of saving it and so on. And three, the gratification of it. You change the mindset and viewpoint as to how money actually works, how it moves, where it goes, how intentional it should be. And that is just the basics in the home.
I want you to double down on something that you are saying. You are saying that in terms of policy prescriptions and policy alternatives, the PNP would be constrained by the same set of circumstances and could do nothing more right now.
They could not, neighbor, right? And I can take away them not having the technocrats, because it is really men against boys when we compare the Jamaica Labour Party and their expertise compared to the actual members currently in the People's National Party.
Tell me a little bit more of that. Tell me a little bit more of that. What do you mean by that?
Labour, let's look at, I'm going to speak briefly on finance,
on
economy and investment, because they're different ministries.
Yes.
and also on foreign ministry.
Yes.
Anybody from the People's National Party, their supporters and so on, name me the 3 most competent individuals who can represent Jamaica in those 3 areas.
Tell us the 3 areas again.
So we're looking at investment and businesses, right? I think that one is with Auburn Hill. We're looking at Ministry of Finance, right? That's with Auntie Fayeval. And we're looking at foreign affairs, right? With Camilla Smith Johnson. Those 3 things are actually 3 carefully crafted ministries, neighbor, and very vital for how Jamaica operates right now. And here's why. You have to know how to maneuver the geopolitics at your foreign affairs, your foreign policies. And while I may put it down on the foreign ministry, it takes in other ministries, but I'm speaking on just that one because it's a collective affair.
Yes.
How you diligently and strategically operate with and against global powers.
Yes.
You have to ensure you know what you're doing. For example, we kept our stance with the whole Israel issue. Right? We didn't vote on it. We didn't be impulsive and emotional and take a different stance. That worked for us. Israel is also one of the countries that gave aid to Jamaica. Right? No. What was the People's National Party stance? Take a vote. Stand with one of the 2 parties. Remember, we don't have the full historical knowledge and nuance to be aside with any of these countries.
Yes.
This isn't a situation where when Jamaica speaks, the world listen. It's not that.
Right.
But if you vote for something that does not produce a neutral, equitable stance and something that maintains relationship without affecting Jamaica and its people's livelihood, then you can manage to go on. But the People's National Party stood up and flew a flag. I will not call the flag that was flown at their office, right? That showed their stance. The public declaration as well about it. That you cannot do. So they don't understand foreign policy. Right? They also looked at the TCN. Their leader said he wouldn't have not taken the deal. Right? He doesn't speak on the negotiations of it. But the People's National Party, them run and say, oh, them this and that, which is against it. The Cuba issue as well. We stood for the welfare of not just our people, right? We stood for the welfare of the Cuban doctors, nurses, teachers, and anyone else who came here under the program. We stood for their welfare. We would not have stand because we are benefiting from that. That is something we call, neighbor, almost like you're being a leash, where the invader takes over the host and takes away from it, right?
Yes.
There's no mutual benefit in it. Because what is the cost that we saw with the Cuban persons? So we get this good health care from them, but they suffer as individuals in terms of how they live. This is not something you or a leader you want to stand with. If you can't stand for
yes,
there's no and your Caribbean brethren for equity, for good living conditions, for humane conditions, then I can trust you to lead me, because it simply means you will use people or use anyone to achieve your political goal. And that doesn't stand for democratic socialism either.
Okay.
So they're saying one thing and want to do another thing.
Yeah. So the cumulative, are you through there, so member?
For the foreign affairs, yes, neighbor.
Okay. The cumulative impact on the Jamaican economy under the 70s. I did some figures on it. I could go back through it, but I would have throw it over to you. Was largely negative, Harry. By 1980, Jamaica was virtually broke. That is the negative part of the socialism debate, that you are saying that the PNP don't want us to remember, because they went on this large distribution expansion of social programs, but it was not backed by any productive activity. Speak to us about that type of thinking of Manley, and why you would caution us against anything like that right now, because as you are saying, the economy at this point is unable to take on much more in terms of the social side or the distributive side.
We can't. We don't have it to distribute.
We don't have it at all.
Right? We don't. And yes, I can tell you the counter argument for the persons listening who favor People's National Party is going to say, oh, but when you say Jamaica better and Jamaica go on things and the NIR is over $6 billion US. Those things are true. Jamaica is in a significantly better place. But that doesn't mean because you have some level of resources, you're going to use it anyhow you please. Jamaica is not yet at the place of the Scandinavian countries, the Norwegians, the Swiss, right? We aren't there yet. They used what they had to get there. We squandered it, standing on this social democratic stupidness. Right?
So you are not against social distribution and social expansion. What you are saying is that we first have to create the wealth.
We have to create it in order to sustain it, neighbor.
No, so hold on. We don't even have. We not only need to create it, but sustain the creation of wealth. As we give it out, it has to be coming in.
It has to be replenished every of the way. Labour understand what the few things that are there that should have came under democratic socialism, right? We needed to have what I'd say a combination of private investment and public investment.
Yes.
We at that time we were a free nation. There was inequality and inequity in terms of where the wealth was. We understand how we got there, the historic reasons for it.
Yes.
That is facts. That has nothing to do with PNP or JLP. That is just the history as to how we came about, right? How you detangle that, neighbor, has to ensure that you don't offend those with the wealth, right? You do not come off aggressive.
And tell them about 5 flights a day.
Exactly. And you want to almost go ahead, neighbor, and give them incentives to find ways in distributing this wealth, which means the government needed to create projects that attracted private investors, those with the wealth, while creating from those projects, neighbor, opportunities for those who did not have the wealth. That is how you properly redistribute wealth. You give the poor man the chance to get a job, so you educate him. Let them love run with hard and praise hard. Get them in it. Prepare them for where the world is going. And that is why I loved how Edward Seaga operated. He knew where the world was going. Man, they didn't. Right? The People's National Party didn't understand it. And you have to be proactive. It's going to hurt while you're doing it in a neighbor. I won't come here and say we won't have bitter pill to swallow and taste sour oranges. It will initially. But as you go along and build it out, and you have that synergy between public and private investment, you then have to ensure that land reformation, something the People's National Party speak about and didn't know how to execute. Because understand that in that time, land brought economic opportunities, not just wealth. It stood for wealth. But the wealth didn't come without economic opportunities. So at that time, agriculture was key, right? Which would have helped our manufacturing sector. And you see the ripple effect. You create opportunities as you go along because you create different services that are needed, neighbor. But we didn't have that land reformation under them. What we had was giving away things that were never properly institutionalized, right? You then have to create, and this is the most critical one, economic freedom with labor protections. And here's why I say that comes off for me from the back of private and public investment. You do not want to take advantage of the poor man, and you don't want to go ahead and technically scam the rich man, because what you create there, no neighbor, is chaos. You create distrust. You create each individual or each party in this case, right? A level of, I have to look over my shoulder doing any deal, doing anything that I'm doing. So there's no synergy. There's no proper understanding between both. And that is key, because labor protections is key. And I hear the PNP love run got about tourism and how we're not paying our laborers enough and so on. That comes with skill set. That comes with proper certification. I'm not speaking of certification for land when a whole nothing. Proper equipping the people for not just what is there, but other opportunities that will create more wealth, neighbor.
Yes.
Right? If you look at Bermuda and the likes of Cayman, they don't have anything really.
Yes.
But what they do is find high-end jobs, neighbor. They saw where the world was going, and they were preempted to do it. So what they did? High technology, finance. Those aren't manual labors that you'd see, but guess what? They pay damn good. And that is where Jamaica has to go eventually. And that is how you start to now find ways to maintain that productivity, the production, and the money, the economic stability that you need to bring in this social distribution, right? And when we look at it, of course, there's social responsibility, both from private and public sector, right? From the government and those who are in the private sector. Because what you want to do, neighbor, is ensure that there's responsibility being taken. Whether that is, and we see it, neighbor, because there's something we call corporate responsibility. You'll see sometimes, for example, Digicel go out and put out treats and all of these things. And of course, they get a little tax write-off and here and there. That is something you needed to do, and the People's National Party didn't understand properly how to do it. But guess what? You cannot have the social responsibility without, this is something we've been doing for the last 10 years, neighbor, fiscal discipline.
Yes.
You need to have fiscal discipline. And thank God we were able to do it somewhat. Because I'm happy the government found way to do it. Of course, this started under Bruce Golding, and thank God for IMF. I don't like IMF, but thank God when they intervened, right? They understood what was happening, and yes, it was an opportunity for IMF to make money off of lending. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But they came in with such strict rules, neighbor, policies that needed to be done, and you had to fast track it. Hence why we had Epoch. Thank God again for Senator Duncan to come out and spill the truth on that. It was a political one, right? It was an economical decision from the private sector, and I'm happy for that. But when we look at how things were fast-tracking that time and had to be held mandatorily by the government of the time, right? They had no choice. That helped us to know then create a foundation where the Andrew Holness administration can now aggressively take the approach, neighbor, to institutionalize in the minds of the people fiscal discipline. Because that got us where we are. That got us to have money if we can fix road. People have talked about how much road damage, how much road fix. Under the PNP, we didn't have that. We were supposed to what? Pothole free by 2003?
Yes.
That never happened, right? We are now able to find money, neighbor, and I'm using the word, we found money, because Prime Minister Simpson actually found money somewhere, somehow. I don't know how, magically. But that in itself, neighbor, we were able to now move things around, be efficient beyond what we were before, to move things around and aggressively pay down the debt, which gave us more wiggle room. Not wiggle room to just borrow money, but wiggle room now to target specific areas. Crime.
Yes.
Record low. In over 3 decades. Right? Investor sentiments. is above where Jamaica has ever seen before. And imagine we had a lot going for us back in the days, and we did not track the investment in this way because I know people will run and come with it. Let me show them our neighbor.
Tell us.
We had investors in the 1990s to early 2000s. But guess what? You know what that investment was? Paper investment. That means I'll invest in a CD. That money don't go nowhere else but straight through the bank into the instrument and out after 30, 60, 90, 100 days, 180 days or for a year. That money did not have any impact on how we produced. So it looked good. Yeah, man, we have whole heap of money and so. That money never passed through the economy. It never drive production, right? While this money was here and this investment sentiment was here, people are getting 30, 40% on very safe investment, neighbor.
Yes.
Extremely safe.
Years is troubling to most Jamaicans.
Sorry.
The world out.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And one of the things that happened, neighbor, a lot of this money went to overseas investors because they understood one thing. They could have converted the money to JMD, invest it into these instruments, and when they convert it again to US, they were still over 20% up, which was higher than almost every other investment globally, or rather in the Western area. So even when they did the conversion, they were making money, but that not come down to the small man. We were still borrowing money thoroughly, every single budget. Borrowing, and no productivity, no production happen. What we're seeing now is money targeting expenditures that will revenue. And that's one of the things that's falling under NARA. These projects that are coming are strategically set up to not just make Jamaica look pretty, but to pay for itself, because that money is not free. And I'll tell Jamaicans that it's not free. Yes, some ID in there free and grant, but the majority of it is targeted to ensure that we go ahead and build the infrastructure to attract investment from the diaspora, from Jamaicans. And so much, neighbor, we have a micro exchange coming in to help smaller businesses. We know how the stock exchange work. That is a government who shows you what it means to handle an economy, to create the opportunities need for the improvement of people's lives. Because we're not getting no fish. Those days are over. Get with it. The world is no longer there. We have to teach you how to fish, get you prepared, make the changes, allow you to make the